Hello everybody, welcome to IZ8 DWF repair bench. Opening this new box, new toy uh, that I found on an auction site. And it is my first attempt at arcade PCB repairs, vintage arcade of course. And this is one of my favorite games back in the early 80s. It's a clone of the famous Galaga, which is called Gallag, and it's two boards. Uh, one of they are hooked together, as you can see, as you will see later when I'm going to explain how this board is made. So stay tuned and see how it goes. Okay, as I said, this is not the original Namco Galaga PCB board. That is a copy because it was very profitable to make copies back in the old days when these boards were sold in large quantities. And actually, it's better nowadays to have such a copy instead of the original Namco board, because the original Namco has a few custom chips, and this board has no custom chips almost at all, and just some regular prompts that can be programmed if they fail. And the original Namco board had 3 CPU, 3 Z80 CPUs, and this one has 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, because the copy needed to add another one to make the function of some custom chips. It has the other board to replace one of the custom chips, which is a normal board with some TTL integrated circuits. And unfortunately, this board was installed backwards in this position. Well, I hope it has not been powered on while it was backwards, otherwise all these TTL chips died instantly. So basically it's very easy to check if the other board is installed in the right orientation, because the power supply of the TTL chips power supply pins must correspond. So the +5 power on almost all TTL chips, 74 LS family, is the last pin, so they must be connected together from the motherboard pin to another board pin, and so this is the case. And the ground is this one, the last on the first row. Also the ground pins must correspond to the one on the motherboard. So now it's connected in the right orientation. So this is the CPU board. There's a lot of ROMs with the 4 kilobytes kind of ROM, so there are quite a few. And the 4 CPUs that we have already seen. It has a card edge connector where almost everything is connected. These wires bring the video signals, RGB and synchronism, from the other board, but I will remove them and instead use a connector on the video board to connect the video signals. It has a flat cable connecting to the video board that I separated just to clean them, and it leaves upside down connected with this flat cable, which is also damaged here. This is a broken wire, so I would probably rebuild this flat cable. Also found this broken resistor here, and a broken capacitor. This is missing piece on the underside, so this would be changed as well. And this is the video board. It has some few EEPROMs too. Video memory is scattered around. This is another RAM chip and some PROMs. And it has a large capacitor which is desoldered, so we'll solder it back. And what? Nothing more to notice. But this is the video connector, which has been quite abused. The wires were soldered to the pins, so I will probably try to glue back this piece of the connector and use a proper matching connector to connect the video output to something else, to a monitor or a TV. I don't know yet. So first thing to do is substitute some broken passive components. Solder back this one, rebuild the cable, and remove these wires. Also completely redo the tinning of this edge connector. The tinning is gone. This is copper with oxidation, it's not gold. So we'll scratch the oxidation, rebuild the tinning completely, and we'll see how to do that also. So stay tuned. To open and remove the cable from these connectors, if you don't have new ones, with a little screwdriver, flat screwdriver like this, with very if it focus, very thin blade, we must push this little tab and lift the first part of the connector. I did it on the side, yes, this one. So push it inside the little tab and started to lift. Of course, you have to do both sides and be careful not to break the plastic. Once you remove the first part, you can unfold the flat cable, and there is another tab to lift, and this time the clamping part of the connector will be removed, and I plan to completely substitute this small amount of flat cable with another 50 connectors, 50 poles, and make maybe a bit longer to allow me to have the boards back to back in a flat position while I was troubleshooting everything. And of course pay attention to the position of the two connectors with respect to the wire number 1, just not to invert anything. I lifted the clamping part so it can be removed. I will notice the position of the colored cable, which is the arrow in the other position here, so one will not connect it backwards, the new cable. Then I will bring to a large clamp and then squeeze it back until the new cable passes through the plates, the contacts. Okay, clamp it back in a vise, paying attention to have the cable as straight as possible to match the correct spacing. So cut the cable slightly longer than the original one. So now we'll remove this other connector, of course paying attention where the pin 1 is installed with respect to the arrow in the connection, which is here, and installed on the other side of the cable. Okay, before completing the assembly of the connector with the last part of these connectors, there is one essential thing to do, which is to test every connection. It is time consuming, but it is well worth the trouble and the time spent, because if I have a short between two addition lines, or if there is a missing connection, that will cause many headaches when I need to troubleshoot the actual board game. So I have to test every connection, which is 50 wires, and then be sure that this works well and I can forget it. Okay, every connection, check it well, there are no shorts, so install it back the cable retainers, and also solved those little problems that I identified. So soldering this capacitor, I just checked also capacity, still full capacity nominal and very low losses. Removed the wires, and on the other board I had to remove the soldered wires in this connector, replace this capacitor, replace this resistor, and where else? Replace this capacitor too, because it was too battered, so for good measure I replaced it. And now next few steps will be applying new tin on this connector, also on the other side, remove the oxide. Well, we'll see the complete procedure for this. And also we'll dump every apron, so that would be a good thing. Also to check the sockets, which are not very good quality judging from this one, but I think they are all the same. They have contacts only on one side, and this is the lowest possible quality when they have one side of contacts only, and the internal side is the worst one in my experience. There are sockets that have only one contact in the external part of the hole, and they are slightly better, but of course the best sockets are the ones with a spring contact that grabs both sides of the pins. But anyway, in the 80s that was standard for cheap electronics board like this one. It of course was cheaper than the original Namco PCBs, not only because of the no custom parts, but only because the standard parts were probably cheaper. So we'll see what's the next steps. The first step is using metal polishing past, or it's kind of liquid. Apply a little bit on the contacts, then rub, and you see the oxide is remained in this piece of paper, absorbing paper, both sides of course. Doesn't need much, just to remove the most of the copper oxide. Let's see. So the copper now is quite shiny, and next step will be applying a new tin on these contacts. Applying the tin actually cleaned with the rubbing alcohol very carefully. Then I will apply water soluble flux, a little bit on each contact, and then apply the new tin, and we remove the excess and make again the contact flat with the solder wick, which is a little braid with some flux inside to absorb the excess tin and make the contact flat again. This is the difference. I made the first two contacts, and they are flat, and the color is different because they are shiny with the new tin. And of course clean the excess flux with the rubbing alcohol again. So of course you make everything, then clean everything, but I will just show the difference between the final result and what I found before the retining job. So some passions I will make every contact on both sides, and then show the results and go on with the repair. is the final result, and let's see on the other side the PCB edge connector with new thin layer. And now look at on my part box for a suitable matching connector, and I found this one, which well, I'll remove the wirings and connect power and buttons and other connection needed for using and troubleshooting the PCB. Now, having adapted the dimension of this connector, I constructed with my connector an adapter board with some power connectors from old hard disks, so I can use normal old computer power supply for it, and some switches. This will be for setting test mode and cocktail mode, push buttons for coin, player 1, player 2, an LED for power, and it will connect a connector suitable for a normal Commodore or Atari joystick, just to test the game. And okay, next step will be making an adapter for the video cable, and I will probably first try to hook up on a normal TV and see what happens.